Republicans just got a rude awakening as Democrats have found their fighting spirit. Finally, we talked about that over the weekend as well. So with this news breaking about the Trump regime leaking their war plans to a reporter in a text thread, MAGA Republicans thought it was going to be just business as usual. They had MAGA Mike Johnson give a statement and say, well, you know, it just shows how effective the regime is. Shows that they're very competent people. Here's MAGA Mike, and then I'm going to show you the response. Play this clip.
What you did see, though, I think, was top level officials doing their job, doing it well, and executing on a plan with precision. That mission was a success. No one was jeopardized because of it. We're grateful for that, but they will certainly, I'm sure, make sure that that doesn't happen.
Right, so that's MAGA Mike. This is their playbook. Elon Musk, then repost the Babylon Bee, 4D chess. Genius Trump leaks war plans to The Atlantic where no one will ever see them. Then Elon Musk goes, the best place to hide a dead body is page 2 of The Atlantic magazine because no one ever goes there. Ha ha ha, what a funny joke. The Trump regime just leaks war plans. By the way, while Trump's envoy to Russia was actually in Moscow. This part has gone underreported, but Steve Witkoff, at this exact time when he was added to this chat and the reporter was added to the chat, Trump's envoy who was in the chat was in Moscow, which almost 100% means Russia was looking at those messages, and who the hell knows how many other text message threads were used to share war plans that now Russia has its hands on. Because remember, Witkoff went to talk to Putin, and then Witkoff came back and he's like, oh, Putin's right about everything, and Putin loves Donald Trump, and we should just listen to Putin that he doesn't want to go after Europe. Well, guess what? The Democrats are not having it, and the Democrats are fighting back. This is what I've been waiting for. You've got Democratic Congress member Eric Swalwell. Here's what he had to say. Play this clip.
Wait, what? Pete Hegseth is still the Secretary of Defense? This moron publicly texts out our war plans, putting our soldiers at risk, and he's not gone after he said over and over and over, so many other officials and other administrations should lose their security clearances and lose their jobs for stuff that is not even on the level of what he did here. And these guys, they want to fire everyone at the FBI and CIA and replace it with this? No, Hegseth has got to go. Everyone on that group chat, by the way, they just fire off texts not knowing who's on the group chat. They all should be fired if they don't resign, and they should all lose their security clearances. Bottom line. And calling for anything less just makes us miss the moment. We can't miss the moment. These guys gotta go.
Democratic Congress member Jamie Raskin. Here's what he had to say. Let's play it.
Election in part because of criticism around her handling of classified information. How do you expect Republicans to respond to what we've learned about how it was being handled by the current Secretary of Defense and others?
Well, it'll be child's play to go back and find all of the Republicans who were demanding congressional investigations and that Hillary Clinton apologize and leave the campaign and so on based over her handling of the information, most of which was not classified, I think. This was clearly classified and of an extremely sensitive and significant nature. So I would hope that they would at least acknowledge the emergency that is represented by virtue of these kinds of practices, and they would try to tighten them.
Okay, I see Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries giving a powerful statement. I like this. Here, play this clip.
And understand, this whole Trump administration is filled with lackeys and incompetent cronies. I'm not talking about any particular individual, though I will note that the Secretary of Defense, who was on that chain, has got to be the most unqualified person ever to lead the Pentagon in American history. Think about that. You've put these people in charge?
Exactly. Just don't mince words. Just say it. Say it directly. Democratic Senator Adam Schiff. Here's what he has to say. Play the clip.
At a minimum, I mean, I know we're not operating in a normal world. It does feel like someone should be held accountable, should resign or be fired. I know that's probably not going to happen, but you also were a prosecutor. Are there crimes? Could there be crimes that were committed here?
Well, there certainly could be a criminal offense here. I mean, this is information that in a normal world would be highly classified. And so someone could have, very plainly violated the laws in terms of the handling of sensitive national security information, even if it isn't classified. But I think, to your point also, my guess is that this is probably the tip of the iceberg. This was probably not the first time that the people on this chat use Signal to communicate information that, if not highly classified, was highly sensitive national security information. So who else is doing this? Apparently, it certainly appears to be widespread because no one on that chat seems to have objected to it or even raised the issue. Now, I know we don't know the full conversation because Jeffrey was careful to limit what he made public to protect the legitimate national security interests of the country, even if the participants in the chat weren't protecting it. But if nobody was objecting, that means that there was a certain routine already in this administration to use such poor tradecraft.
Senator Adams.
Then you have Democrat. Do you see the fight? Do you see the pattern here? Then you've got Democratic Congress member Tom Suozzi from New York's 3rd Congressional District, where I grew up. Let's play it.
Comply with whatever you said.
Absolutely. Yep.
Republican Senator Murkowski said it very plainly. She said, what would we be saying if this was the Biden administration? It would be hair on fire. So, I mean, this is kind of one of those things. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be a lot of details. But just straightforward looking at it, this is a major screw up of class. What are the Chinese saying right now? What are our European allies saying? How do they feel about sharing intelligence data with us when people are acting in this cavalier way on very sensitive topics? So this is, it's a pretty straightforward thing that's wrong.
How quick?
Then you have Pete Buttigieg, the former Secretary of Transportation, who actually knew what he was doing and there weren't planes crashing all the time. Here's Pete Buttigieg. Here he goes, do you know what would happen if I did this? Do you know what would happen if this was not the Trump regime, but say this would be? He goes, I would be definitely fired and I'd probably be immediately indicted. Check out what Buttigieg says here. Let's play it.
Keep me safe.
Do you think someone should be fired over this?
Absolutely. I mean, if I made a mistake like this as a lieutenant, I would be probably not just fired, but probably indicted and tried and maybe in prison. And the idea that, remember, these guys love talking about merit, right? We hear a lot about this alleged principle that they're hiring people on merit. I think, there's some questions there. I mean, our current Secretary of Defense hadn't shown a lot of evidence of, running a large organization, or let alone running a large organization well. And he got put in charge of the largest organization in the United States of America and the most important organization in the world, which is the U.S. Department of Defense. And if there's not accountability for a screw up like this, especially from a president who used to fire people every day on television for sport, what are we even doing here?
Pete Buttigieg, thank you for joining.
And as Buttigieg is looking at this interview at like the post where Elon Musk and all the MAGAs are like joking about this, ha ha ha, they did this on purpose. Look, they set up the reporter to show how incompetent the Atlantic is. Buttigieg makes a great point. Buttigieg goes, for these freaking billionaires, it's all a game to them, right? While they mock us for saying, oh, if you complain about a Social Security check, you're probably a fraudster. They gut Medicaid. They shut down Social Security offices. They treat veterans like absolute crap. While they engage in, they dismantle and have a hostile takeover of our freaking government. And they go, oh, this is what the people wanted. This, ha ha ha, this is so funny. Let me post a freaking meme. Pete Buttigieg is like, nah, okay? Like, that's some bullshit. Play this clip.
President Trump, as you saw earlier, was saying he wasn't aware of this report. We're since told he's been briefed on it, but he reposted something that Elon Musk wrote earlier, kind of mocking all of this. by making fun of The Atlantic. He wrote, "Best place to hide a dead body is page 2 of The Atlantic magazine because no one ever goes there." Trump reposted that earlier. Do you see that as making light of what has happened here?
Yeah, because this is all a game to them. Nobody in Donald Trump's family is on a ship in the Mediterranean. Nobody in Elon Musk's family is at risk from the kinds of economic or security harms that are going on here. They think all of this is a joke or a game because these are incredibly rich, powerful men who, frankly, don't have to worry about the kinds of things most Americans do. And look, this is part of a bigger pattern, right? The sloppiness and the incompetence, whether it's firing the people who were in charge of keeping our nuclear weapons safe, apparently by accident, and then scrambling to hire them back on, whether it's sending an email to try to buy out air traffic controllers in the middle of an air traffic control shortage, and then scrambling after a plane crash to say, oh, that never applied to them, whether it's that Doge site, their so-called wall of receipts, thinking that they were proving that they saved the taxpayer $8 billion with a B, not realizing that the contract they were talking about was $8 million with an M, which means they were off by 100,000%. And now this incredibly grave and serious matter of taking classified information about American battle plans involving American troops and randomly sending those battle plans to the wrong guy. If they don't understand the seriousness of that, then they don't understand how their jobs affect the lives of ordinary American people. And as an American, having the most powerful people in your country not take their responsibilities seriously can be lethal.
Here's Buttigieg one more time. Let's play it. And just so you see how they're handling this on Fox, so you can see a contrast, I'm going to do a whole nother video on this, but Jesse Waters describes it as such. He goes, do you know when you send like a naughty text message to your aunt and like you sext her and you're not supposed to because it was an accident. You meant to send it to, somebody else. Like that's what this was like. What the hell are you talking about? This was like while one of the Trump regime members was in Russia with Putin. He was on a freaking group thread where they also invited a reporter and they shared war plans, sensitive, compartmented information that belongs in a freaking SCIF, a sensitive, compartmented information facility. It's illegal to use this device. And now we think Russia probably has this as well because Witkoff was freaking in Russia with Putin. You don't think that they're in his phone? And how many other messages, how many other text threads are like this? Here, play the clip.
Did you ever try to start a group text? You're adding people and you accidentally add the wrong person. All of a sudden, your Aunt Mary knows all your raunchy plans for the bachelor party.
Jessica Tarlov, the pro-democracy host on Fox, the only one, she drops the hammer. Let's play it.
Donald Trump's ratings on handling the economy, inflation, cost of living are all tanking. And we're seeing this administration's incompetence and recklessness on a scale unimaginable. I'm sure you guys saw this incredible Jeffrey Goldberg piece from right before we got on air a couple years ago about Goldberg, who is a journalist at The Atlantic, being invited into a private signal chat with all of our national security heads. So Rubio, Hegseth, Waltz, Tulsi Gabbard, Scott Bessent's in there, et cetera. And they are planning on just signal to drop bombs in Yemen. So they're not doing this in a skiff. They're doing it on an app that you and I, we all have on our phones. And it's obviously incredibly reckless, national security risks. I don't want to ever hear butthurt emails again. I don't know what's going to happen to anyone who's involved in something like this. But on top of it, you have the vice president. He's in there as well, contradicting Donald Trump on his policy on Europe. So all of this is going on. We're only a couple months into this administration. And when Carville says, let's see what they do, you get stuff like this.
And I want to highlight this as well right here. The former White House Deputy Cabinet Secretary right here, Dan Coe. And here all he's saying is, look, if you are accused of engaging in crimes and the government wants to send you, the regime wants to send you to a concentration camp in El Salvador, they should have some process to prove that you are actually Tren de Aragua and not just say, trust me, bro. You can't just be like, oh, because there are bad guys in the world, a felon, Donald Trump, gets to decide who's Tren de Aragua with no process. Here, play this clip.
I think the larger issue here is that this is a president and administration who's making a mockery of the law and only using the law when it's convenient for their agenda. Let me give you an example. Here, in the case of deportations, they disrespect due process. They say it's not needed. But when they fire 16,000 probationary employees and a judge says you can't do that, they say, wait a minute, due process, Supreme Court, come in. You're going to stop this and try to file an injunction. There is no consistency here. It's literally the whim of this president and his administration for whatever favors him. That's the problem.
Let me pull us back 40,000 feet or however the cruising altitude of those planes was. Right? Do you think there's not a comms team in the White House watching right now, giddy that there's a member of the Biden administration, extolling the virtues of why we need to afford Tren de Aragua due process when there was no due process for people when they came here?
I extol the virtues
and they
of
ended
not
up committing
firing
crimes.
inspectors general or having an independent DOJ. That's what I respect. Right. And you should too.
And you saw my video yesterday morning about Andres, the gay barber, the gay hairdresser from Venezuela, political exile, fled the Maduro regime, was living here in the United States lawfully, an asylum seeker, was waiting on his asylum application. He had a court appearance for asylum coming up. He was kidnapped by the Trump regime and thrown in a concentration camp in El Salvador. As Tim Miller says, you're telling me this man is Tren de Aragua? He was so dangerous we had to send him to a foreign prison concentration camp to be beaten, perhaps worse, with no due process. Do you have any soul left, Marco Rubio, or any of you freaking idiots part of the Trump regime? Seriously, women were sent to that concentration camp, but the concentration camp only takes men. Okay, you had the soccer player, professional soccer player, political exile from the Maduro regime who had a Real Madrid tattoo. And they said, oh, that's a Tren de Aragua tattoo, and it isn't. They put him in a concentration camp. How many other stories are like that out there? Horrific, horrific stuff. Oh, and then we learned in a declaration filed by the ACLU yesterday that one of the women who were on this flight to El Salvador that don't take women, that she was saying that the government agents were beating the men and saying, sign this, sign documents saying that you're Tren de Aragua. And the people were like, no, we don't want to sign. And they were beating them and saying, sign it, sign it. I'm not okay with that. I'm not cool with that. Call me old fashioned. I believe in something called due process in the United States of America. Call me old fashioned about that. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.